AirFuelSynthesis is looking for an investment of £5 million to help it construct its first commercial facility, and we would expect as a project this will return an IRR of around 15%. AirFuelSynthesis converts renewable energy into transport fuels. That's our goal, and you can think of it as putting electricity into your fuel tank. It is a different approach. We think it's got plenty of merits. We have a very strong team we've assembled to get us to where we are now. We are 2 years old. We're not trading yet, but we have a group of people who are really supportive and helping us move this business forwards. And the group of people you see on the screen there consists of the founder members of the organisation, the people who've brought the idea forward from a 0 point, and also includes now a board team that I've put together that will actually help us move that vision into reality. That's I see my role in this. So the key people I'd point out on there are myself, Peter Harrison, and I've got a background in I'm a civil engineer, background in the offshore sector and the chemical sector, and for the last 10 or 15 years I've been working as a consultant and on developing projects like this. And we have David Still, who's a CBE, developed his experience in the offshore sector, being the first offshore wind farm. So when you hear more about our business, you'll see that his skills and knowledge play an invaluable role in helping us put projects together. And at the bottom left, one of the founder members is Professor Tony Marmont, whose idea this was way back in the first place of how do you make better use of renewable energy. So what sort of markets are we talking about? Well, we're looking at things to do with high-volume energy storage and balancing renewable energies, specialist uses for renewable methanol and petrols, for example, integration with thermal and bioenergy projects, improving efficiencies and converting CO2s into petrols, and as a synthetic replacement for fossil fuels. At least that's our goal. Now, when we look at how scalable is this as a business opportunity, we end up getting concerned about oil price and what the break-even point is and how we're going to move forward. And I wouldn't want to claim that we are competitive with oil at the moment by any means, but we do see niche opportunities for us as a business to help generate a cash flow. So our scalability strategy is to start working in niche markets, move more into energy storage and energy balancing, and then move towards general transport fuels as our economics come down and the oil price comes up. And our goal is to move from our demonstration unit, which we've invested just over £500,000 in up on Teesside, to becoming a refinery-based exercise producing these renewable fuels. So our ambitions are enormous, but it'll take us a little time, but we think we can do this profitably. Our business model, our technology model, is about taking carbon dioxide and hydrogen using renewable energy to make a carbon-neutral fuel, liquid transport fuel. One that could be stored as a sort of complementary to hydrogen storage, but perhaps with a slightly easier storability factor to it, but one which as a process sits very well in countries that are developing very large renewable energy projects and have a need to have a carbon neutral transport fuel. So places like Scotland are very interested in what we're talking about doing. Our core technology is in our fuel systems, our fuel reactor systems and technology, but also in the systems integration, which is a bit fledgling at the moment because we're only at demonstrator stage, but that's where the business wants to get to. And we're finding that being very early in the market, looking at the uses of CO2 with pretty much existing technologies leads to IP opportunities, which I think we'll find will be valuable in the future. Thank you. So we've proven the point that we can make methanol and petrol from CO2 and hydrogen. Some people find that obvious, and I'm surprised how many people find that surprising. As a product, It's a synthetic replacement for fossil fuels. It is a direct substitute for liquid transport fuels. It is carbon neutral, and it can be produced to make petrol, methanol, diesel, jet fuel, and we could go on to make plastics and other products depending on the market conditions. The business strategy is to develop and improve technology in the demonstrator, which we are doing now, move on to our commercial stage, which we want to do next, and develop partnerships and joint ventures so we can put the larger projects together. I'll skip that. So having said that we're ambitious and we want to make a lot of progress over a long time, we're very conscious that we need to generate a cash flow in what might seem to be quite a difficult marketplace at the moment. We believe, however, we found an opportunity in the motorsport sector where our renewable hydrocarbon drop-in replacement fuel will make an excellent blend product, for example, in the F1 circuit, where they have a 6% requirement for biofuels. And this is where we are intending to invest our first £5 million. One of the benefits of our project is we're making transport fuels, but our operating costs are very, very low. We're not relying on any raw materials, CO2 from the air, and electricity to make the hydrogen. So you can predict well into the future what your manufacturing costs are, and I think this is quite a commercial advantage in oil, with oil prices rising. The company is an experienced and capable team. We've got a very strong strategy, commercially sustainable. That's our motto, and we are ambitious. And from an investment point of view, the highlights would be that we're talking about a very scalable business, up from container sales, of containerized units selling fuel up to refinery scale. The very low feedstock cost means that we've got increasing margins naturally, and we're not competing against food crops, and the first in the market opportunities are helpful, and the cash positive at the beginning without requiring fiscal support. And what I mean by that is, when we look at the forecast models of our product, we don't include the opportunity to include renewable obligations or road traffic fuel certificates. And that would be a bonus as far as we're concerned. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Now, Peter, you said you take CO2 out of the air. Is that just a surrounding error? Is that at the point source, say a big CO2 manufacturer?
Well, just slip of the tongue, I have to say. Our founder is very, very enthusiastic about taking CO2 out of the air. A lot of my job for the first 6 months of this year has been helping my founder understand the realities of the commercial world and focus on point sources of CO2. Yeah. And we've now got there, so we've got a happy team now. But point sources of CO2, if we can find it from, say, a bioethanol source or a waste-to-energy project or a brewery or a fermentation project of some sort, that would be ideal.
Well, I guess part of your business could be to help these guys reduce their carbon output.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Useful.
Sounds like a very simple process, but then the question is, why aren't other people doing it? Are there low barriers to entry or quite high barriers to entry?
I'm not sure about this. I think maybe because we're turning things on the head a bit. Right. When we talk to, when I come from a bit of a chemical background, so I would say this is obvious, as a refinery process.
It's all black magic to me.
But exactly, and that's the dilemma. That's the opportunity. A lot of people see it as black magic. How can you do that? Well, as a chemical background, you can say, well, you can do that. Mm-hmm. The question at the moment is, can you do it economically and commercially? And until the last 6 months, when we actually were able to talk to the motorsport sector about what we were doing and find out what the interest is, then we didn't really have a model. But now we do have a model. It's about stepping forwards, creating cash flow, so we can develop further. And as the world changes, our project becomes more viable. That's our approach.
When do you expect that to happen? I mean, everything you say is based on the oil price. If you just assume that the oil price goes that way all the time, when do you expect it to be economic?
Oh, it can be economic tomorrow in our particular niche market. But when can we compete against oil? I don't know. It might be 10 years.
Right.
Okay. What is your cost of production at the moment for your pilot plant you're proposing, and then for, let's say, the next generation plant?
What is the cost of this plant?
A rough cost of production in dollars per barrel.
This next plant is going to cost us, we're expecting it to cost us about £4 million for 1,200 litres a day.
£4 million for two, okay.
Okay.
It does sound a really kind of quite a unique and interesting proposition. So, point sources of CO2, what kind, it says here you're looking at kind of breweries and bioethanol plants. Have you kind of mapped where you get point source of CO2 and kind of spill renewable power as a kind of sweet spot for where you might want to target production facilities?
We're looking very hard at Scotland at the moment. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of interest from the distilleries up there. Mm-hmm. And I've given my team a motivation call. I said, look, I want to retire, touring the F1 circuits in the season, and then going and touring the breweries and the distilleries in the other seasons.
That's basically drink driving.
Exactly.
So you're assuming raising oil prices, but are there other things that you're doing that you could bring the price down? And are you also watching at natural gas prices? Is that dangerous for you?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. Going from a 1 tonne a day containerised unit, we can see that quite easily, and we can design that quite easily. You'll see our paperwork upstairs. We have a concept of a 1,000 tonne a day plant, which is the size of a bioethanol project, which sounds quite straightforward. And if it was a bioethanol project, it would be a few hundred million. For our project, it's going to be a few billion to get that size, because all the costs from all your raw materials are brought forward, and basically you're creating your oil at the beginning. And that sounds like a very large number, but then it's also a very large number to put back into the supply chain. And then, when I talked to Graham Cooley about his hydrogen electrolyzers, and they said, well, okay, you're making a 1 megawatt one. What happens if I want 1,000 of them? What happens to your manufacturing costs, and what kind of deal could we do? And we're generally finding that people are saying, yeah, there's it would make a lot of difference to us as suppliers to be able to respond to the orders of that size. As we move forward, we want to be able to stimulate these discussions and find ways of getting people to reduce those costs, getting people involved in our projects, and creating jobs at the same time. Thank you. Thank you very much.